Hello and welcome to court. Today you're going to check out our second Juneteenth video, and I know what you're thinking. Listen here, you devilishly handsome they them. It is not June anymore. It is specifically July 4th. I know. I haven't celebrated July 4th in years, so why start now? Let's keep rolling on the celebration from Juneteenth. The outfit that you will see shortly was created by Dionysus. The fabric for the basin and the Ankara was from House of Mamiwata, which will be linked down below. And it is just giving me soft cottagecore goodness. It's not often that Black women and Black femmes get to truly relax into softness. And while Dionysus was working on this outfit for me, I really started to think about what that meant to me. And so I started to think about the women, specifically the Black women, who have touched me and who I tried to model my activism after. So check out this aesthetic AF video and learn yourself something. The 410s were a very established and well-off family that lived in the Philadelphia area. These women used their wealth and their power and their connection to Black society to bring up those around them in the many different ways that they organized and donated their money. The 410 women consisted of their mother Charlotte and her 3 daughters, Margaretta, Harriet, and Sarah. These talented women founded the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society, which was mostly founded by Charlotte, but her daughters did continue it on. And they each found individual success, such as Margaretta's school that she opened, Harriet's donations to many anti-slavery organizations, and Sarah's anti-slavery writing and poetry, which was widely published. To be so well established in society as not only a Black person, but as Black women was not very common at the time, even in the North. So the fact that they were not only wealthy and well-to-do, but educated and really focused on bringing their community and those around them and those who weren't necessarily their specific neighbors, but their brothers and sisters, is just mind-blowing. The next Black activist woman that I wanted to speak about is part of the suffrage movement. Her name is Mary Church Terrell. She was a master's educated activist, and she worked to shed light on lynchings as well as the huge disparages Black people faced in America. For some frame of reference, it was this year, this very year, that the Antilynching Act was finally passed. Now, while Miss Terrell did not specifically work on this specific act, she was alive from 1863 to 1954, and it was just this year that the Anti-Lynching Act was passed, which means that it has been well over 100 years since she started doing her work, and we are just getting a bill that is admonishing lynching. She was a great believer in the women's suffrage movement, and she worked to make sure that the movement included Black women specifically for the right of equity and equality. If you haven't checked out either of V from SnappyDragon's videos about the suffrage movement and how racist that movement was, I highly suggest checking those videos out to shed a little bit more light on why Black women were excluded from this fight. You can find those videos linked down below in the description box. The next woman that I wanted to speak about is Mary Jones. Mary Jones was a woman of transgender experience who was not only a former U.S. soldier, but also a sex worker. In 1836, she was charged with grand larceny for stealing the wallets of men she engaged in sexual acts with. Through the entirety of her trial, she dressed as her gender, as a woman. While trans people were nothing new in 1836, she is the first recorded trans woman to be out and public and proud. It is important to note in the case of Miss Jones that she did plead not guilty, although she was charged and sentenced 5 years in prison. I find it very important to mention this because her trial was a huge media sensation at the time. And I believe it would be remiss to ignore the fact that it was such a media sensation and she did plead not guilty, because certainly her gender would have played a role into how this sentence would have been laid out at the time. If you're interested in learning about these women a little bit more, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you take a look into the history that remains for each of them. Juneteenth is a celebration of those who have come before us, of the freedom that we now have, and the promise to move forward and do better and connect as a community. I think that it's important to celebrate historical holidays with some history. So I wanted to give some Black history on some Black people who have truly shaped me. And maybe they shaped you too, and you just didn't know about it until now. Anyway, until next time.